I'm Rachel Abraham. I'm 18 years old from Westchester, New York, and I have had pulmonary hypertension essentially since I was born. The way my parents explained it was I was born, they cut the umbilical cord, I turned blue, and everyone started freaking out. There was some commotion, and not long after, I was diagnosed. For the first couple years of my life, I had a central line, and when I was 9 or 10, that was taken out, and from then on, I have been exclusively on oral medication. I wasn't the normal kid. I was the sick kid in elementary school, if you will. If you can't see, I just did like air quotes. So I didn't learn how to ride a bike. I didn't learn how to swim, and I didn't learn to do all of these like normal kid things. And I always sort of had this little buddy that was attached to me at all times. And then I woke up from the surgery to get said central line removed, and I can vividly remember thinking, wait, this is weird. And it was a big moment in my childhood of going from like constantly being tethered to this line to obviously, not being as tethered and being able to do more, whether that be getting in a pool or any of the normal kid things. Like being able to go down a slide was now way easier. Getting dressed was like way less involved. I didn't have to like thread a central line up through my shirts or anything. So that was like a big and wonderful transition, and even though it was almost 10 years ago now, it had an effect on me. At first, it was a little weird because when you're in elementary school and you're like socialized to be a person, I was always socialized for everyone to sort of know I was this sick kid because, no normal kid walks around with a central line sticking out of them. In middle school and high school, I'd be like, hey, can we take a lung break? Because I can't walk long distances. I can't, run around. And I still remember getting very weird looks and me being very confused. I didn't realize that there had to be extra explaining to be done on regards to like my lungs and that whole issue, and that definitely took some getting used to. And honestly, I'm still getting used to it because I was thrown into a college campus 7 months ago and no one knew that I had PH and no one knew that like my lungs didn't work the way they were supposed to. And it was having to re-explain and re-teach everyone that like, hey, I can't walk as fast as you. Hey, I need to take lung breaks. It's always a learning process, and I think I'm still working on said learning process, but it is very different from like walking around with a backpack and being tethered to a central line. I like it better, even if the explanation can be kind of annoying sometimes. As I sort of approached the college process, I realized that like for me trying to find a school was going to be like a lot more difficult than for my friends because I had to take into account where's the nearest medical center? Can I get around the campus? How's the accessibility of the campus? I had to take into account where the school was. Would it be too cold? Would I, not be able to get from point A to point B without turning blue and getting under oxygenated? There were quite a few factors. It was touring schools, and even before touring the schools, it was sending the admissions office an email and being like, hey, can I get a wheelchair for this campus tour? Or, hey, could I get a private campus tour at my own pace? And it was talking to the Academic Support and Access Center once I got into AU, which is where I am currently. It's making sure that I have a single room because I have a concentrator that's loud and I sleep with. It's making sure all of my medicine is ordered. It is a whole lot of moving parts, and all of them have fit together quite nicely, and the transition was great and way, way easier than I thought it would be. And I'm not gonna lie, there were some rough patches, but I think every college freshman has rough patches, and I don't think mine were because of PH at all, actually. I think it was because I'm a person, and I was transitioning from my home to school. It was a transition, and there were more moving parts than the average person my age had to go through, but it was not so much more overly involved that it was impossible. I have a couple pieces of advice. My biggest one is do not let the fact that you have some invisible disease stop you from doing what you want to do and doing what you love. And yeah, you are going to have a whole lot more work to do than your friends. You're going to have to go on college tours for everything. You are going to have to take in temperature, campus size, accessibility, but that should not stop you from going to college and living your dreams and doing all that. That's my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice is for once you get to college. If your pH is not visible and noticeable to the naked eye, tell people you have it. And you're gonna have to explain it a bunch of times. And there are gonna be a bunch of people that are like, oh, my grandpa has asthma. And they're gonna be like, that's the same thing, right? It's not the same. You deal with it. You be polite about it. Because, they're just trying to relate. Even if you don't want to be known as, hey, that sick kid, you should tell them anyway. Because when you're late to class because you can't breathe, or you have to do this, that, and the other thing, because of pH, you really don't want to have to suffer repercussions because you did not let either the university or your professors or your friends know ahead of time. Even if you could keep pH under wraps, don't, because if you try to, it will come back and bite you in the butt. My name is Rachel Abraham, and I'm aware that I'm rare.